This episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast is brought to you by Lead Rose Global Institute, powered by L'Oreal, USA Professional Products Division. Listen, a license gets you behind the chair, a degree lets you lead. Introducing a global industry transformation, the first ever higher education degree pathway designed for the beauty professional. The $500 billion beauty industry is reinventing itself, and it demands more leaders with entrepreneurial spirit and experience than ever before. Lead Rose Global Institute is a game-changing pathway to higher education for the life you deserve. Lead's flexible accelerated degree pathway enables every beauty professional to obtain a college degree and university degree, even with a full-time job and life schedule. Earn your associate's degree in just 2 semesters and your bachelor's degree in 4 from the comfort of your home in record time. You'll learn the business of beauty and acquire invaluable knowledge, enabling you to become a beauty professional of the future, capable of creating financial prosperity, success, and happiness. Transformational leadership development, innovation, the science of inner management, these are just a peek into the state-of-the-art education you will receive that takes you into the future of beauty. Visit leadinstitute.degree for more information. That is leadinstitute.degree, because lead is the future of beauty and the future starts today. Let's go ahead and jump into the episode.
It's a different vibe when you hear it from an outsider who's also been in your shoes. And I think that's also key. I've had alopecia. I've lost 50% of my hair. I was losing eyebrows and eyelashes. My forehead was double the size of what it is now because my hair was receding. Like, I suffered through this just like anyone else. It's not a competition about who suffered the most. It's about, okay, let's stop the suffering, because I think that's the biggest part. Let's stop the suffering and let's get to hair growth in less time. And this is your manual. This is your blueprint on how to do it.
Welcome to the Friends in Beauty podcast, a safe space for ambitious beauty industry creatives to have real talk, get real answers, and practical tools to grow their businesses. My name is Aquia Robinson, and I'm a makeup artist, beauty educator, and the creator of Friends in Beauty. I created Friends in Beauty to support like-minded creatives just like you on their quest to connect, network, and build genuine relationships within the beauty community. Join me every week as me and my special guests reveal the keys to success and longevity in the beauty industry, and most importantly, have fun while doing it. You ready? Hey, what's up? It's your best friend in beauty, Aquia Robinson. Welcome back to another episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast. I am so happy to have you here, and I hope you're listening to this episode in high spirits and in good health. Now, on this episode of the Friends in Beauty podcast, I welcome Johanna Dahlman, the founder and owner of Alopecia Angel, to the Friends in Beauty guest chair. Alopecia Angel helps heal and reverse autoimmune alopecia 100% naturally with no medications or pharmaceuticals needed, and has created a framework for success for various types of alopecia and hair loss naturally. They have helped hundreds of clients in over 60 countries, from alopecia totalis, alopecia universalis, alopecia areata, diffuse, Telogen Effluvium, and even scarring alopecia and more. They also cater to adults and children. As the founder and creator, Johanna has personally gone through alopecia areata and overcame it naturally as well. It was this situation that led her to create a framework and program that is now in multiple languages, helping others get results and answers in less time. I had such an amazing conversation with Johanna. Let me tell you, alopecia is something that is very common, and I actually know quite a few people who have different types of alopecia, but I was always of the belief that certain types of alopecia could not be reversed. Johanna broke it all down. She gave us all the facts, okay? In this interview, she shares what is alopecia and how she was first diagnosed, the different types of alopecia and how common it is, what can trigger alopecia and the mental, emotional, and physical toll it can take on your body. All about her program, Hair and Heal, that's helping her clients see hair growth in as little as 4 weeks. how she manages the expectations of her clients on this journey, some of the amazing results and stories that her clients have shared, how friends and family can support someone they know with alopecia, common misconceptions about alopecia, and so much more. This interview is so informative. Oh my gosh. I learned so much during my time with Johanna, and I pray that this reaches someone who it can help. If you know someone who is living with alopecia right now, please share this interview with them. There is a solution. Let's go ahead and jump into this chat with Johanna, and if you prefer to watch our beautiful faces, then tune in on YouTube. Enjoy. Welcome to the Friends in Beauty podcast, Johanna.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited to have you. I was just telling you, I know quite a few people with alopecia, and I was always of the belief that it could not be reversed for, certain types of alopecia. So I'm really excited to talk to you today and just get into all of it.
Excellent. Me too, because I believe there are many myths surrounding hair loss, alopecia, the different types, the autoimmune, if it's treatable or not treatable, or even scarring, which many people also are diagnosed with. And I have so much information to share. So I'm really happy about this.
Yay. Well, before we jump into it, we're going to have a little fun, just warm up a little bit. I have some icebreaker questions for you so the Friends of Beauty audience can get to know you outside of what you do for your brand. So the first one, just give us 3 random facts about you.
3 random facts. I speak 3 languages, Spanish, English, and Portuguese. I love to travel, have traveled to over 65 countries in the world. Let's see. I'm a scuba diver. I love the ocean. I love the environment. I'm not political at all, but when it comes to protecting the environment or to making it cleaner and better, you'll see me picking up trash. You'll see me, doing some sort of clean the beach type of, situation or day, because I care about the environment, especially the oceans. Having grown up in California, the ocean was my playground. And so the ocean is so important to our ecosystem, to, the lungs, and to everything else that goes on within our world as a whole. And so, yeah, the animals, I love animals. So all the animals and everything else, it ties in with the scuba diving.
Yes, that is super cool. Like, I can only imagine the things that you see when you're down there.
It is. It's so amazing. And I actually did this one dive. It was my last dive. I haven't gone diving in a while, but my last dive was off the coast of Florida, and it was to go diving with tiger sharks and hammerheads, no cage. So this was all in international waters, and it's one of the only type of charters that you can do. And I had 4 hammerheads around me and tiger sharks as close as this around me. But it was such a beautiful thing, because you see personalities in the sharks. You see personalities, on how they're acting. And it's not just, what the movies display about them, but it's also how they are innately, right? They're curious, especially the hammerheads. They almost seem like Labrador dogs, very curious, playful. And then the tiger sharks, of course, because their background, you want to be a little more cautious, but at the same time, it's also one of those things where you don't have to, or you need to not show fear, right? So if you don't show fear, then they can't smell it, right? Because anyone can smell fear off of somebody. So it's one of those, it's a nice little test, and it's one of those things that I really wanted to do. And so I was, thankful and grateful enough to have the opportunity to do it.
Yes, that is super cool. I love those 3 random facts. That is super cool. So next one, like, out of all of the countries that you've been to, what are like your top 3 places that had like the best food?
Ooh, best food. Quality or just flavors? Flavors. Okay. I love Vietnam for their food. Love Vietnam for their food. And, many times here in the United States, we eat pho as maybe lunch or dinner. Over there, they eat it for breakfast. And so I was there for 3 weeks. And so I actually got the hang of it to start eating it for breakfast. The first day, it didn't work out so well, but then, 3 weeks in, then I I actually took a picture of this. I had like my bowl of pho, and then I also had like scrambled eggs. And so it was like this mix of American breakfast with the Vietnamese breakfast. So I love Vietnamese food. I would say, Argentina has fantastic food as well. France, Norway. Norway has, I would say it's not their cuisine, but it's the quality of food. The quality of ingredients is incredible, like just everything. You could stay at a regular hotel, nothing too fancy, and everything's organic. Everything is from a farm that's nearby. So Norway was where really breathtaking in that sense. Russia is also another place that you wouldn't think that has amazing food, and it does. It has like really good home cooked, kind of like hearty meals because it's so cold all the time. So Poland is also very similar to that. So yeah, those are a couple places where I could think off the top of my head where it's been really good, and you're really into the food. But if you want a city that has like immense diversity, Berlin is a city where the food is cheap, the food is fantastic, and you have like the best of all of Europe. So best pizza, best Greek food, best, gyros, best everything is in Berlin. It really is.
Okay, I love that. Got to get out and travel more. I always say that I got to travel more. That's so cool. So I have these pod decks. They have these random questions. This is a would you rather and a what the heck. Which one would you?
Okay. Let's do what the heck. I love this. This is so much fun.
Good. Oh, this is cute. Have you ever accidentally texted the wrong person, and how did it turn out?
Let me think. I probably did. I can't remember the actual scenario. More than likely I did, but because I only text to close friends or family, actually I do remember it was to friends. So a lot of my friends are sprinkled all over, and two of them happened to live in Miami in particular, but I was texting one and I meant to text the other one, but it's because we're so close that they understood that it wasn't meant for them. So they're like, oh, no worries. And I was like, but I love you too. It's not just, for this friend, but it's also for you too. So it was one of those things where, you just get mixed up, but it was all friends and it was kosher. So
okay, that's
it worked out.
I'm glad it wasn't anything crazy.
No.
Okay. What do people always tell you that you're good at aside from what you're doing now professionally?
Yeah, something that I'm good at. I think in a way it's being on top of what's going on, being very knowledgeable. Ever since I was a kid, I'd love to read. I'd love to learn. I love learning. And I think that's been one of the keys to success in so many ways, just to keep at it, keep reading. And when you do your own research, when you do your own reading, then you actually have more perspectives. Let's say, it's not just one avenue where you're getting your information, but maybe a multiple, ways of getting your information. And so this way you can compare and contrast. And then also, let's take something as simple as traveling. You could go to France and have one experience. I can go to France and have a different experience, but then we could both not go at all and then hear a mutual friend's experience. And then that could also overshadow if and when we do go to France. And so it's that type of thing where I like to experience things myself. I don't go by what people say. And so even let's say if you're looking at reviews on Yelp or on TripAdvisor, like I feel like I could read people to an extent, and even the reviews, even though I don't know the people, the background or, anything, age, race, ethnicity, nothing, but I can read through the reviews, through the lines to see if this place or this amusement park or this whatever if I'll like it or not, or if I intrigued to go or not. But sometimes I don't care about reviews and I just go. And so I like to experience things for myself. So I don't know if in a way I'm answering the question correctly, what one thing that I'm good at. I think knowledge. It's my family and friends, they come to me for advice. They come to me for that extra piece of knowledge. Like, do you know about this? Because I happen to know normally about something.
Okay.
Not just health and wellness, but maybe something else, because I've had a lot of life experience that's allowed me to connect with others, and just provide an extra added layer of information.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I like that a lot. When is the last time that you did something for the first time? You seem very adventurous. So I feel like you probably always get into something.
Last time I did something for the first time. I don't know if this counts. I've never been a Harry Potter fan per
Mhm.
se. It just wasn't my generation, I guess. I didn't read the books. I saw some of the movies here and there out of, just family obligations to go with a sibling or go with somebody.
Yeah.
But recently we went to Universal Studios in Osaka in Japan, and they had like a Harry Potter theme, and they had the Super Mario theme that it's the only one in the world. And so I was like, I'd rather do Disneyland in Tokyo, but at the same time, because it was Super Mario and because it was the only one, I was like, okay, let's do that. I can relate to Super Mario. I played video games as a kid. I like Super Mario. I'm not a diehard fan at all, but I was like, sure, let's do it. So it was the first time I think that I went to an amusement park and I did no rides. We were traveling with my son, who's a toddler, and so because it was just me and my husband and the toddler, it was like we can't leave on the rides unless you want to do it by yourself. So I think that was the first time I was at an amusement park without even going on any of the rides,
Yeah.
just
I
walking
did
through it and enjoying it.
I did see something about the Super Mario's installation. I thought that was cool.
It was so neat. They did such a good job, like from the music to like the spinning coins. They did such an amazing job. They really did, hands down. It's smaller. If you've ever been to Disneyland, it's smaller than like a small world. So
Okay.
it puts into perspective. It gets really crowded because it's so popular. But at the same time, the detail, and even there was like those boxes, how you would just with Super Mario, they would bounce up on the head, and like they would get a coin or something. You could do it with your fist and you would have a sound and you would have like something come out. So it was really neat. The detail was spot on. You felt like a kid. You felt like you were inside the video game.
That is really cool. Okay, I like that a lot. I'm sure your son had a good time.
He did, he did. It's all new for him too. As a 2-year-old, this is your first time at an amusement park. And yeah, even the Ferris wheel or the carousel is like daunting.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the last one, if you weren't the founder and owner of Alopecia Angel, is there anything else you could see yourself doing right now?
Probably starting a nonprofit. It's always been in the back of my head for many years now, probably for over 20 years. It's been in the back of my head to start a charity of some sort, to give back in a way that creates a lot of impact. What those details look like, what would it be about? I'm not too sure. I waver with, the thing is I have so many passions that I'm passionate about. Children are a passion of mine. The environment is a passion of mine. But also, single parents are a passion of mine. It's just, it's so diversified. I haven't honed in just yet. The thing with Alopecia Angel is that it came because it really hurt. All of it really hurt. It was so painful. To lose the hair, to go through the uncertainty, to go through so much stuff that I knew that if I was so strong, because I've always been very strong. I've been the type to say, let's go scuba diving with sharks. Let's go skydiving. Let's go travel by ourselves. Let's go do this. Let's go do that.
Yeah.
So the fact that I have a certain strong personality to begin with, and mentally, I do feel that I am strong, but alopecia humbled me in so many ways. And because it did humble me, I felt that probably the majority of people were probably suffering 10 times worse than I was. 10 times worse mentally, physically, emotionally, not because I didn't have what they had or vice versa, or it wasn't at the same degree. Not like that, but in the sense where the mental toughness, the strength to say, look, I'm going to find a way and I'm going to get to it. I'm going to heal this. And I know I can. Not anyone takes on that challenge. In many ways, the doctors and even like doing the research online with Google and just a simple search, it tells you there's no cure. It tells you that there's no option. And I've had probably all my clients have been told from a doctor that diet and lifestyle won't help, that what they're doing is not going to get them any results. And on top of it, many times doctors even tell them there's nothing we can do. Your case is, such a situation, or, your follicles are such a situation that I'm so sorry. Like, the only thing you can do is go home. That's a death sentence to somebody mentally, emotionally, physically, especially let's say if you're the parent and the child is listening to this and the child is the one going through alopecia. It's like, what type of reassurance is this professional giving to this child or to the parent? This is horrible. And so I knew from my own experience, it was awful, absolutely awful, having seen doctors in the Netherlands and the doctors be like, I'm so sorry, it's just you and your ponytail's too tight. And I'm like, I don't even wear my hair in a ponytail. Like, why, what are you saying? And then, you come here to the US, in California, they were very aggressive. They're like, yeah, I got a routine for you. Let's go through, so many different shots on a monthly basis. And then you're like, whoa, hold up. And then in Denver, they had a different approach as well, but it wasn't conducive to results. No one could provide results. No one could show and say, hey, this treatment is going to give you this. No one could say that with any guarantee or anything. They were just offering it to you like candy,
Right.
but nothing else. And so then I was just like, you know what? No, I'm going to do my own research. I'm going to go my own path. And the thing is, because I had alopecia in my 30s, like I knew if I had big hair my whole life up until 30 something, like, why would it just go away? It didn't make sense to me. Like, what is it? What happened that all of a sudden it's going away?
Yeah.
I think for many people, this is like the big question. They don't get it. They don't understand. And they're trying to find understanding through professionals, through doctors. And because it took me so long, it took me over 3.5 years to figure this out and to really format a formula for it, then this is where, what more people need to know. More people are struggling in other languages, in other countries, and they don't have the access. They don't have the tenacity or maybe even the time. At the time, I was single, I had no kids, and I could dedicate 16, 18 hours a day, including weekends. I was living off my savings trying to figure this out because my hair is everything to me. My personality. And, even that one question that you said, like, what are you known for, or what people, come to you for? I'm known for my hair. I've always been known for my hair, whether as a child, in college. Like, you can pick me out of a crowd. I'm known for my hair. And I just wanted to continue to be known for my hair because I cherish my hair. It's mine.
Right.
Why not?
Wow. So I do want to backtrack a little bit, and just for those people who don't know, like, what is alopecia and like how common is it?
Alopecia is the medical term for hair loss. Now, underneath that umbrella, you have multiple types of alopecia. You have alopecia areata, totalis, universalis. Those three are autoimmune. So it's where your body is attacking its own follicles. Then you also have a different umbrella of scarring alopecia. Inside scarring alopecia, you have multiple different types. Then you also have telogen effluvium, which it's diffuse, it's all over. So diffuse, telogen effluvium are kind of in the same basket. And this could be postpartum hair loss. This could be a stressful event hair loss. This could be COVID hair loss. This could be multiple different types. And then at the same point, you could also have 2-3 different types of hair loss at the same time. You also have female pattern baldness, alopecia. So there are many different types, just like colors in the crayon box. There are many different types of crayons inside this crayon box.
Yeah. Is male pattern baldness considered alopecia?
It is, because it is hair loss. It's a more genetic type of hair loss. Male pattern baldness happens to males. Female pattern baldness happens to the females. And it's that gene that you got from either your mom or your dad. Technically your dad most of the time, but it can be passed down from your mom as well. But it's not just genetics. I've done a lot of research on this, and there's something called epigenetics. And this is where your diet and your lifestyle, your environment all play a part. So regardless of whether your parents or in your family there's cancer or there's hypertension or there's high blood pressure or what have you, you can hold the triggers to all that with diet and lifestyle. And I think that's the key component here. That's the key takeaway, is the diet and lifestyle is much more than what we just think of, just like meditating, eating well, and doing yoga. It's not that, and it's so much more than that too. At the same time, you really have to tailor this to each person, because we don't live all in the same country, in the same city. We don't come from the same family. All our diet and lifestyles are all different. And so this is where our signature program tailors it to vegans and vegetarians and pescatarians and meat eaters and people who observe Ramadan and people who don't. And, it's tailored to you because we want you to get the results. Just like I wanted results in less time, I want my clients to get results in less time. So it has to be tailored to each person. And I think this is the problem with medication, right? It's a one size fits all approach, or the specialty serum or the specialty pill or the specialty shampoo. It's a one size fits all, but how do you know if it's going to work for scarring or for the autoimmune or for regular hair loss? It won't, it can't. The way you treat somebody your age or my age is not the same you treat a 5-year-old or a 2-year-old. It's going to be so different.
Right. When did you first notice like the early symptoms of your alopecia at that time? And like, what did that look like?
I was actually diagnosed in the salon, and many times you are diagnosed in the salon because your hairstylist is the one who's like rummaging through your hair, right? They're the one, in my case, going and doing my highlights, right? So I have the highlights, but they're the ones splitting my hair apart from the back to the front, putting in the foils and all this. If you get your hair dyed, this could be also another opportunity because you also have to split apart the hair. But even if it was a haircut, you would see, let's say with dark hair, or even blonde hair, you would see a bald spot. And for the autoimmune alopecia that I had, alopecia areata, it started with a small bald spot. And then I got another one, and they started connecting the dots and they started growing and increasing. And that's how you start moving into totalis, which is where you're completely bald.
Right.
And then universalis is where eyelashes, eyebrows, body hair all over go away. And so it's, first tier, second, and then third in terms of the autoimmune alopecia. And I was diagnosed at the hair salon with my hairstylist, who's been doing my hair since I'm 13. And he told me, Johanna, you have alopecia. He was just very matter of fact about it. He's like, you need to go see a doctor. I didn't know what alopecia was. This is a term that I had never heard of. And so I started looking on my phone, started looking and researching, and I saw what it was. And it felt like a death sentence. It felt like there's no cure. There's nothing to do, go see a dermatologist. And so this is where it all started. I started seeing a bunch of doctors, and it led me through this path of what's next. I had just met my husband. We were dating at the time when I got alopecia, when I was diagnosed. And so, being in my mid-30s, I was looking at getting married, having kids, and getting on with this life, right? And so I went the natural route first and foremost because I didn't want anything to hinder my chances of having a baby, of my fertility. And the more research I did, the more research I saw that all these medications do hinder fertility for both men and women. They cause erectile dysfunction. They cause a bunch of other problems. And the more articles I was reading, the more articles that were showing where women were having kidney failure, liver failure, hip transplants at the age of 22, and all these types of things because of the medication. Wow. And so that was something that I didn't want to go down that rabbit hole with medication. I knew the natural route was the only way for me. And again, there was this innate intuition telling me, I'm going to get my hair back. I know I can. I don't know how, but I know I can. And so this is what, that persistence, the tenacity just kept going. And and it paid off. It paid off beautifully.
So when you finally went to the doctor, what was that appointment like? Like, what do they do at the doctor to like finally determine like what type of alopecia you have and like what treatment they're going to put you on? Like, what is the doctor situation like?
So at the time I was living in the Netherlands, and the doctor there, because it is a socialist healthcare system, it's very difficult to get any type of medication. You have to be essentially on your deathbed. I had strep throat there. They didn't want to give antibiotics. Like me, my husband, and my baby had strep throat, nothing. Oh, it'll go away on its own. It's strep throat. My baby's losing weight. Still nothing. So in terms of my alopecia, not to diverge, in terms of alopecia, they told me it's your ponytail. It's too tight. And I'm like, I don't wear a ponytail. The way you see me today is the way I've always worn my hair, just down. And And so I knew that I wasn't going to get further enough with them. And I knew that it was just battling. It was a lot of red tape and politics with this, because it's all about money and budget. And unfortunately, this is the way healthcare systems are made up. It's for you to have the cheapest option, the cheapest healthcare possible. This is the way it is in many countries, including Canada, Australia, UK, Europe. Many times it's this. It's good for some things, but it's bad for other things. Okay. And then on top of it, you may be dealing with a doctor like the one I had in the Netherlands who didn't understand alopecia, didn't understand hair loss the way I do today. And this is also a gap in the education system, right? And so when I came to the doctors here to the US, at the time, this was pre-COVID, so I could go and come back as I pleased, which I did. And I saw doctors in California, I saw doctors in Colorado, and the ones in Colorado, they wanted to give me a cream. They wanted to do something like very, very superficial. And the doctors here in California, they were more aggressive. They're like, I have a 12-month plan for you. We're going to do so many shots each month. It'll be like this, like this, like this. And I was just like, whoa.
And are these shots like in your actual scalp?
Yeah, injections. They're called steroid injections, cortisone shots. And the thing is, if you understand what the steroids do, whether it's a cream or whether it's an injection or any other type of steroids, it suppresses your immune system. So instead of boosting your immune system, because I had the autoimmune, right? So it's the immune system working against itself. Then, I mean, for me, at least, I was questioning this. I was like, why is the cortisone shots actually going to give and deliver results? It doesn't make sense, because it won't give me long-term results, because it's suppressing my immune system when we don't need to be suppressing it. We need to be supporting it. We need to be boosting it. Right. And so this is where I knew that there was a disconnect in the toolkit of this dermatologist who specialized in alopecia. I knew that there was a disconnect in education. I knew there was a disconnect in many ways. And so then I was like, you know what, I need to go venture off and do my own thing. And that's what led me onto this multi-year process of figuring things out, doing trials and errors, continuing research, and just spending countless hours, countless time and money, right? Figuring this out. But again, I'm grateful because I was single, I had no kids. And so now if you think about the regular population, they're busy. They have a full-time job, they have kids, they have spouses, elderly parents, and they have so many other things going on. There's no way that they can figure this out in 2 weeks, in 1 week. There's just no way. Right. It's not possible. And this is why I started Alopecia Angel, because I was like, this is going to be the quickest way possible for you to see hair growth in less time.
Is there something that can trigger alopecia?
Yes, there are many things, but for each person, it's different. All the triggers are going to be different. And it's not just one thing. It's normally a multitude of things. What I like to say is that alopecia is like a 1,000-piece puzzle. You have all these different pieces to it. And so if you think, oh, it's diet, it's not just diet. It's diet plus, all the other types of pieces. And it's not just lifestyle, because you have more pieces to that. Even within diet and lifestyle, you have subcategories that just keep opening up, like Excel. It just keeps opening up with every little box that's filled in. There's more and more to it. There's more and more to see. It's not just superficial. There's comprehensive, in-depth research that's provided. And so this is the key to really understanding where you are, because when I deal with a client, for example, let's say you come to me, we start with a 10-page intake form, but that 10-page intake form can and does talk about your past, but it also talks about your present. But at the same time, there's things maybe further back in your past that only you would know, or maybe your parents would know, or maybe that, with going through the program triggers you like, oh, I had that at one point. Oh, I had that and I didn't know it correlated. I call these blind spots. And the blind spots are necessary to uncover, because that's what keeps people stuck. This is why they say there's no cure, because people are stuck and because they're trying to put one size fits all approach to everybody. So the one pill that takes away your headache or my headache does the trick, right? Tylenol, Advil, it doesn't. There might be a preference. It might take you 15 minutes. It might take me 10 or maybe longer, but the headaches will go away for both of us. But there's not one pill or one thing for everybody across the board with every type of hair loss that this will work for. This is why they say there's no cure. But if you look at disseminating and tailor and customizing this situation and this program for you, then yes, there is a way. Just like weight loss, anyone can lose weight. It may not be in the same way. It may not be through Jenny Craig. It may not be through, Slim Fast or some, gimmick, but we can all lose weight. How we do it will be tailored to our preferences, to our diet, to our lifestyle, and how we want to go, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's in the same way where it needs to be customized to you, right? So my brother likes to play basketball. I like to do Pilates. You can't expect me to play basketball because I don't want to. So it's that type of thing where there's a preference to exercise. There's a preference to everything. And so these are things that you need to account for.
Thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned the blind spots, because I was going to ask you about that. I was like, what exactly is the blind spots that you're helping people discover? But I would love for you to share like the process that you're taking people through. You mentioned the intake form, but what exactly is included in the 8-week program of Hair and Heal?
Yep. So it's a step-by-step program where we walk you along each week. Each week is filled with immense amount of information. There's over 50 PDFs for you to download inside the program itself. Plus there's a lot of bonus sections for you to like up level your health and up level yourself, because for each person, it's going to look a little different, right? For the vegan versus the meat eater versus the pescatarian versus the person who only wants to eat fruit, etc. So that's the diet component in terms of we need to get this tailored to you. We need to see how we can manage the diet situation for you, for your child. Let's say I've had clients as young as 8 months to clients as old as 75. So age is not a factor. I actually have a nurse who's been a nurse for over 30 years. She's 65 years old, and she thought because of her age, because she's postmenopausal, that this wouldn't work for her. In 4 weeks, she started seeing hair growth. Yeah. In 4 weeks. So age is not a factor. Race, ethnicity is not a factor. How long you've had alopecia is not a factor. You have to understand that if you are willing, and if you're alive, heartbeat and all, breathing and willing, if you have the desire, you can heal. Mm-hmm. Just like you can read a book, or you can learn to drive a car. You can learn to do this. And no one's teaching us this, unfortunately. Like I didn't learn this from my parents. I didn't learn this from school. I didn't learn this from anybody. I had to get this information myself. And so I actually have functional medicine doctors. I have regular doctors. I have nutritionists, dietitians, personal trainers do my program because they see hair loss in themselves and they can't figure it out. And this is where you look at alternative solutions, because it's a natural route. There's no risk. It's all organic. So it's 100% tailored to you, because again, we're all so different with different types of hair loss, right? And so with week 1, you start with the intake form and there's the introduction. We also talk about diet. In week 2, week 3, and week 4, all the way to week 8, we talk about many things. We talk about the blind spots. We talk about, all about the hair, and what this looks like. We also talk about the things that we need to do. And also it's a strategy. It's a strategy for life. So for example, I've had many teenagers or college students do my program, even from their dorm room, from their dorms, they're able to do this. And granted, when you have a goal, more than likely it's going to be challenging, right? Whether it's, to climb Mount Everest or to make $1 million, whatever the goal is, it's going to be challenging, right? If university was so easy or getting a master's degree was so easy, we'd all have one, right? It's challenging for a reason, right? And so getting to the hair growth is actually easier than what you think, but at the same time, it's the consistency, it's the discipline. So it's not just about, let's say, losing weight today. I've lost my 20 pounds and then I can go back to eating my cupcakes and waffles. That's not it. We have to continue and maintain that. And I think that's the hardest part, right? Is the consistency that you have after. Like for me, it's been 8 years that I've had alopecia. I have all my hair. I've had a pregnancy at the age of 40. Delivered my baby healthy. I had COVID, no hair loss, no postpartum hair loss. I had stressful events. I've moved multiple times from different countries and still no hair loss. So you learn, I think, and this is such a huge takeaway, you learn the keys to success for you on how to take control of your health, take control of your hair so that hair loss is not an issue moving forward.
Right.
It's almost like you understand the basics of math And from there, you can apply more. You can apply more algebra and geometry and all these other things on top of it. But the basic is just addition, subtraction, and that's the foundation of math. And so I need to start with the foundation for each person so that from there we can build up. And when families do this together, let's say if you have a child who has alopecia and we have the family doing it, I love to see the whole family get involved. I love to see where everyone's supporting the one child and everyone gets healthy, because lo and behold, one parent or two parents have some other situation, whether it's eczema, psoriasis, maybe some arthritis, maybe some back pain or something else, but it's all diet and lifestyle. And so it's like, if we really focus on what this truly means for everybody, then we're able to up level them and upgrade their health in a huge way, where the hair growth is just spitting out like a water fountain.
I absolutely love the natural approach to this. And also, I know a lot of people have been groomed and trained to like trust the doctors, listen to what the doctors say. So I know that a lot of people, probably by the time that they get to your program, like they're just looking for like answers, and just like it might be like the last resort, like they tried everything. But like, how do you manage their expectations of their results with your programs, if they might be a little bit like skeptical because of the other treatment that they've received before?
Yeah. The thing is with doctors, my perspective on doctors has changed greatly, because I start to analyze them in a way where, yes, they're knowledgeable. Yes, they went to medical school, but potentially they're not solely focused on alopecia in this case, or solely focused on a situation that, deals with me. If you start looking at doctors, you have the endocrinologist, right? Or you have the nose, throat, ears doctor, or you have like the oncologist who's only dealing with cancer. So you have specialties within all the doctors, and many people see the dermatologist and see the GP. The GP is your regular general doctor. The regular general doctor doesn't have all the tools in his toolkit. So more than likely, they'll refer you to the dermatologist. The dermatologist is more of a skin person, not a hair person. And even though it does, have the scalp, it's still not hair, it's scalp. And so their tools and in their toolkit, unfortunately, is also very limited. It's also limited to where you live, right? If you live in Kansas, this could look very different than Canada. If you live in Australia, this can look very different from Netherlands or Paris or anywhere else. So you're limited to the type of healthcare system, the waiting times, because with COVID especially, we saw 6 months, 12 months waiting times just to see a dermatologist. And maybe that's not in the US, but that's definitely happening in other countries. I have clients in over 66 countries, just so you know, because the healthcare around the world, something's wrong. It's not working for anybody. I'm telling you, it's not working. So, this is part of the problem. But in any case, no one's dedicated 100% to alopecia. No one is. And I think this is the strong suit for me, because that's all I look at. I look at alopecia. And yes, if you have thyroid issues or if you have hormone issues, we can incorporate that as well. But my sole focus is your hair. Let's get to the hair. But and on top of it, it's not a topical. It's from the inside out. Health blooms from the inside out. When you see somebody with good hair or with, beautiful skin, or you can see health just glow from them, right? It's very different. And I see this a lot in Europe, because we have a lot of young people, young youth, young adults who smoke cigarettes. And so that compared to the US in general it's a very stark difference. And you see the effects, let's say, of a smoker with the hair, with the nails, with the skin, with, if you're on a diet of junk food and smoking, let's say, and just drinking Coca-Colas, you're going to see that in your body. Just like if you were to eat something fatty and then all of a sudden you get a bunch of acne, right? You see health within you and it comes out. It really does. So, sorry, what was the question?
Just managing the expectations of the people as far as the results that they're going to get.
So I get a lot of skeptics, of course. I get a lot of skeptics, but these same skeptics, like this nurse who was 65 years old, they're like, you know what? I have nothing to lose. I'm going to try. I also had a client who she had scarring alopecia, and she's from Trinidad and Tobago. And she told me, she's like, I haven't seen anybody on your website or in your success stories who's Black like me. and she's like 50 something, and she wanted to see somebody who was like her. And I was like, well, I can't force that, because first of all, some people are shy about posting their results or having an interview or even giving me pictures. Others are willing and they want to support Alopecia Angel in that sense. But I actually have an interview. She's on my podcast number 10.
Okay.
Her name is Doris, and she did my program. She was very, very skeptical because I had no one who was, from Trinidad and Tobago, like her, Caribbean Black, and no one with scarring. She had both. She saw hair growth in less than 8 weeks. That interview was done a year later. She continues to see hair growth.
Great.
So Dolores is one of many. Also, the nurse who I just mentioned out of Florida, 65 years old, had been a nurse. She teaches nurses. She teaches medical education for over 30 years. She's completely bald. In 4 weeks, she saw hair growth. And a lot of times what people do, like this nurse did, she bounced off my recommendations with a provider, with another, let's say, naturopath that she was looking at, or a friend, or who maybe has medical idea. And so her friend, who happened to be a chiropractor and a medical doctor, said to her that my recommendations were spot on. And sometimes it's like you have to hear it from somebody outside your circle.
Right.
It's kind of like the child who doesn't want to listen to their parents, but then when they see somebody who's like a mentor or a coach, I get this a lot with children too, right? They respond to somebody else. So let's say the teenagers, especially, because they tend to be a little more finicky and difficult. The teenagers who do the program, they don't want to listen to mom and dad, but when they get on the phone with me, they're like, okay, we'll do everything you say, and it's just a different vibe when you hear it from an outsider who's also been in your shoes. And I think that's also key. I've had alopecia. I've lost 50% of my hair. I was losing eyebrows and eyelashes. My forehead was double the size of what it is now because my hair was receding. Like, I suffered through this just like anyone else. It's not a competition about who suffered the most. It's about, okay, let's stop the suffering, because I think that's the biggest part. Let's stop the suffering and let's get to hair growth in less time. And this is your manual. This is your blueprint on how to do it. Mm-hmm. And so once I did that, once I saw my steps, I elaborated on that. I created it to expand and to hone in on other situations, on other blind spots that may or may not have affected me, but definitely are a part to be aware of. And this is huge, because then you're saving time. It's like going to the mechanic. You have something wrong with your car. You don't know, this mechanic is not helping, but he's charging you. You're going to another mechanic and he's charging you and he still can't fix it. And so you're going to how many mechanics to fix this, right? I get it. I understand. And so you're so right. People come to me and I'm their last resort. But at the same time, I also deliver results, because I have this tough love nature about me where I'm just like, this is what you need to do. Like, don't veer off. It's this, this, and this, and that. Boom. So they can be skeptical or not, they always come around. I've had a client. So on my podcast, on the Alopecia Angel podcast, I have over 60 episodes where multiple of those are interviews with clients. So face-to-face, just like us, where you could see it on YouTube, you can see it on the podcast. And I've had children who were completely bald and they grow all their hair back in 6 months. I've had women with scarring alopecia who see hair growth. I've seen clients who've been following me for 5 years. 5 years. They do my program finally, and they see hair growth in 4 weeks. So it's all about supporting your body. And the longer you take, the longer those results. Mm-hmm. So this is definitely the quickest way to natural healing and supporting, because it's a learning curve. It's a learning curve that no one's teaching us, not schools, not governments, not doctors, not parents, because they don't know either. And you have to forgive them in many ways. They don't know. Yeah. My doctors didn't know. None of my clients' doctors know. And, and this nurse, I go back to this nurse because she and I, we've had a lot of conversations. She's gone to so many different like alopecia focused medical offices all over the US. And yet she's like, what you provide is nothing that they're saying. And yet I'm seeing results with you. Mm-hmm. So it's very surprising. I get it. But I guess the background to all this is that I did this first and foremost for myself. I
Right.
didn't do this for a business. It turned into a business. It turned into an organization because I wanted to avoid that suffering, the pain, because the pain it is detrimental. There is a lot of suicide. If you
Mm.
start looking back at articles or in the news, you see little girls at 12 years old who are completely bald and they're committing suicide. You see teenagers committing suicide because being getting bullied, being talked back about, or having to wear a wig, or going through the teen years. Being a teenager is hard. Going through
Yes.
high school is difficult. You have so many insecurities. You have so many changes hormonally. You're becoming a lady, right? Boys are becoming men, and the puberty and all these other things. And so losing your hair is hard enough, is
Mhm.
really hard, and it does take a mental toll. And it's and when I see articles like this, I know it can be prevented. And I know as a mom, I'm getting a little emotional here. I know as a mom, like, I would do anything for my son, and I know all parents would do anything for their children, but this can be reversed, and it doesn't have to lead to suicide. It doesn't have to lead to staying secluded in your house, not going out, not doing activities, because that's the thing. When you lose a part of you, in this case, your hair, it does inhibit you to want to date, to want to go out, to want to be a citizen of the world, to want to volunteer, go to school, go to work, just be a normal person. It really does. It forces you to want to become a hermit crab, and just stay indoors and just stay behind the walls so that nobody sees you. I get it every day. Every day I receive emails of this nature. I receive text messages and instant messages of this nature. And it's heartbreaking because it's just like, I've been there, but you can only lead a horse to water. You can't make it drink.
Right. Oh man, that is just devastating to know that people are actually committing suicide because of the lack of information or just being misinformed by doctors and feeling like there's no hope. Like that's so sad.
It is. It is. It's heartbreaking because, there is a solution. There really is. And it's in our hands. It's not in the hands of a doctor. And I think that's the most beautiful thing. We don't have to have these follow-up, you know, these follow-up appointments with them. We have the control in our hands. And I think no one's allowed to believe us that. No one's allowed us to think that we can control our health. The prescription here is where we believe that everything comes in a bottle. Our solutions come in a bottle, whether it's a shampoo bottle or a pill bottle or a prescription, but they think that everything comes in a bottle, and it doesn't. A lot of times it comes from your own sweat equity and your own discipline.
Right, right. Wow. Well, I like to shift gears just really quickly for a segment of Never Have I Ever. I have a never have I ever question for you. If you have done this before, you can, share the story behind it. If not, give some encouraging words to someone who may be doing this currently that has alopecia. So it's so funny I chose this question and not knowing that you're a scuba diver, but the question is, never have I ever avoided swimming or other activities because of my alopecia. Have you ever done that before when you had alopecia?
Good question. I didn't necessarily avoid doing things. I was still gung ho. I will say, though, there are many ancillary symptoms that go along with alopecia. It's not just hair. People think, oh, it's just hair loss. It's not. There's a physical component, and this physical component can look very different to various people. And for the parents who may be listening to this, who have a child with alopecia, understand that there's fatigue, there's digestive system, there's like the pitting of the nails, there's brain fog. There's so many of these other tsunami symptoms that just wash over you, and it washed over me. And so the energetic person you see today was not so energetic back during alopecia. I was just so fatigued. Normally I would go to the gym, do Pilates, do yoga, lift some weights, go running. I was very, very active. I mean, when I got alopecia, I was at the peak of my health. I was the poster child of health in terms for my family. I was tan. I was living in Miami. I was running at 5, 6 in the morning every day. I was doing Pilates and yoga multiple times a week. I mean, I spent around 2 hours a day just working out. Why? Because, well, Miami Beach is it has this culture of working out. First and foremost, you have to live in a bikini. So, the stakes are high, especially when you're single. But in any case, it's not like I wasn't doing anything. I had a full-time job, I had a very active, robust social life. So I was diagnosed later, once I left Miami, in Denver, in between Denver and Colorado, and just the fatigue. I had a gym inside my building, and I couldn't even, there was mornings where I couldn't just get out of bed. Making lunch was the biggest task of the day. It was just very, very hard for me to even wake up, and even I was forgetting where my keys were at. It was something I couldn't recognize. I have a really good memory, and then all of a sudden I go from, feeling on top of the world to feeling like I'm 90 years old. I'm forgetting things. Even if I have a shopping list, I'm forgetting what I just read. So I have to review it 100 times. The key situation was typical. Brain fog was immense. Again, just to say that making lunch was the big, big task. I couldn't work out. I couldn't do things. So the fatigue, the depression, right? The anxiety. I've never been one to have anxiety or depression. And yet I felt all that. I felt the uncertainty, what if? The what if starts playing games with you. The what if I can't figure this out? What if I can't find a solution? What's going on? And then on top of it, you see, you're visually seeing just immense shedding, drains being clogged up, floor, hair all over the floor, like a dog. I owned a dog and I didn't. It's this type of thing that the reality is hitting you, and you don't know what to do. You feel like you're at a standstill because the doctors aren't giving you solutions. Doing steroid shots is not an option. Going the medication route is not an option, just because of the fertility situation, and you want to enhance that. And it was just a standstill of sorts. So I didn't necessarily avoid activities, but when I mustered the strength to go out and do it, I would. But there was many times where there was no strength. There was no will. There was no possibility. I would go to the gym, even if I got my clothes on, got my shoes on, was at the gym, and then I would just sit on the yoga mat. I just couldn't. It was so surreal what was happening to me, because it wasn't just one or two or three things. It was, like I said, a tsunami. I felt like, and I always say this, I felt like my body was hijacked by somebody else, because I couldn't think straight. I couldn't move straight. Just everything was off. Everything was off. And I feel for the adults having to go through this, but I also feel for the children, because many times they don't even know. And imagine that, I was in my 30s, and to vocalize what was going on, I also didn't connect the dots that this was part of alopecia. And if you look at textbooks, none of it is there. None of these symptoms, none of these feelings are there. And yet it's all part of alopecia. How do I know this? Because A, I lived it. And then B, I have the thousands of customers who I help on a yearly basis who also tell me, I have the same symptoms. I'm going through the same thing. When they hear me on my podcast, they're like, I resonate with you. You've been there, you've done that. And then on top of it, it's not just for a couple years or a couple months. It's been 8 years, and all these other things have happened. And on top of it, I think the best part about alopecia, because I do see it as a blessing today, I see it as a huge blessing, is that I was able at the age of 40 to get pregnant on the first try. No IVF, no nothing. I was able to have my baby boy, supernatural 10-pounder, at home, because in the Netherlands, everything's at home. So at home, and, everything went well. Everything was smooth, no epidural, no nothing. And it was painful, yes, but at the same time, not as painful as going through alopecia, if you can imagine.
Wow.
So that just also tells you the level of pain. So I think, if there's a will, there's a way. I've always believed that. And so it's just, deciding and taking action. That's really what this is about. Deciding and taking action.
Absolutely. Wow. What is some of your proudest moments with doing this work? you're helping like thousands, like you mentioned, thousands of people a year. So I can only imagine like you feel really proud.
I do. I think the proudest moments is seeing the skeptics change their mind, because in as little as 1 week or 2 weeks, they see their symptoms lift. It's like this veil, this fog has just cleared. Their brain is thinking more clearly. Their energy is better. They're sleeping better. They're feeling better in their body. Like they see the change. Change happens, but it's like you got to support it. So once you understand what that really looks like for you, then you feel the change, and seeing is believing. And then all of a sudden you get the hair growth, like this nurse who I mentioned, who's 65 and started to see a big change in her hair growth. And this is after 6 years of dealing with it. There's many people who are dealing with alopecia for 20 years, 25 years, and they still see progress. They still see hair growth. People who've been bald, completely alopecia universalis for 40 years, still see progress, still see hair growth. So ideally, the sooner you start, the better it is, right? It's like that Chinese proverb, the best day to plant a tree, 20 years ago, but the second best today, right? That's really how that looks like. And it's never too late to heal. Your body is waiting. It's just, we need to uncover what true health looks like. And I help you through this in the program. And then of course you have coaching calls, you have private calls if you need, you have extra support if you need, but this can happen and this can be for everybody. It really can be.
Yeah. Are there any misconceptions or stigmas surrounding alopecia that you would like to address?
Yes, absolutely. A lot of times people say, alopecia is my destiny. I have to live with this. But this is like saying, I lost my shoe and I can't find it. I'm just going to give up.
I'm gonna just be barefoot.
Yeah, you don't have to be barefoot. You can find that other pair of shoe. You can buy new shoes, right? There's the possibilities within us all. There really is. And so I feel like a lot of times there's limiting beliefs, and there's us holding ourselves back because we think we're not worthy of healing. We think that it's not going to work for me. We think all these, negative chatter. We believe in the negative chatter. And I think that's the biggest thing that brings you down, is the negative chatter. You need to surround yourself with positivity, with, success stories, and be inspired by others. Like, how did we know that we could go to the moon before anyone went to the moon? Right? You have to plan it, you have to dream it, you have to prepare for it. And guess what? Then they made it. And then every other country followed and they went to the moon. How did we know we could fly a plane, or we could air travel, or, create the car? Henry Ford created, his Ford automobile back in like 1912. But before then, where was the inspiration? It was the wagon cart. And then it's just like everything has an evolution to it. Everything can be better. And I think this is the creative approach that many times people put to aside and don't believe that, it's possible, and I get it. They've tried so many things. They've tried PRP, they've tried laser, they've tried the helmets, right? They've tried the specialty vitamins, they've tried the specialty shampoos, they've tried so many different things, and none of it's worked. And I'd say save your money. If you're using any of these things, including the medicine for alopecia, I'd say save your money, don't spend one more dime, and X-nay all of it, because none of it's going to work. None of it's going to give you results long-term. The only thing long-term is called education and understanding how to support your body. We're all so different. I have clients who have multiple issues, multiple autoimmune diseases, multiple health concerns. And a lot of times they see them reverse. So for example, I have a client, she's interviewed in my podcast. She has Graves' disease. She had Graves' disease. Of doing my program's 2 months long. She continued with the consistency and everything. In 6 months, she reversed her Graves' disease.
Wow.
So she not only saw the hair growth, but she also reversed the Graves' disease. So reversing thyroid issues, reversing hormone issues, PCOS. I have a client in her first week of doing the program. She's a type 1 diabetic. She stabilized all her blood sugar. And so what does that mean? That means she can lessen the degree of medication. She can stabilize, take control of her health. This means that she doesn't have to worry about the spikes anymore. This means that, she can have a level playing field. So all these things, Hashimoto's included, can be reversed. There's so many things that can be reversed. And on top of it, once you upgrade your health, it's not just the hair, it's everything, including the fertility, which is huge. I mean, I was 40, I know people who at 29, they're doing IVF.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This is fantastic. So for someone like me who doesn't have alopecia, at least not right now, I don't know what the future holds, but how can friends and family support someone who is in their life that has alopecia?
This is a hard one. It's a hard one. I have a podcast episode about it, but it's a hard one because as someone who's in it, for example, if you were in it, if you were in these shoes, you feel like no one understands you. You feel like you're isolated, you're on this island. And as much as, let's say, moms or parents or siblings want to say, Johanna, it's all good, I got your back. Let me know anything I can do. They can't do anything for you.
Mm-hmm.
They can't. This is where the horse needs to drink its own water, right? No one, and even the parent doing this program for the child, if your child is like above the age of 20, they need to do this on their own. The parent can't do it for them. There's a threshold of where the child is an adult and they need to fly on their own wings, right? It's just like when you potty train a kid, they start to go on their own. They do things on their own. That this is the way it's supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
We can't baby them for the rest of their lives. So in this case, it's the same way where people need to do it for themselves. They need to want to do it. Just like I can't do your push-ups. I can't, sleep for you. I can't exercise for you. I can't do many things for you. And you can't do it for me either. Right. So everyone's got to do it and take responsibility for themselves in that sense. And I think in a bigger aspect, it's all about the desire.
Yeah.
How many people want to make it to the Olympics? And, and it's not about the possibility, like forget about the options and the opportunities to get to the Olympics. But if you really wanted to, you could, right? Just like if you really wanted to go to high school or in university and get that degree, you can, anyone can. But that effort, that consistency, the tenacity, it's got to be there. I've simplified it and made it so easy for you. Now you don't have to like search for things and put things together out of nowhere like I did for 3.5 years, 4 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
But now you have a laid out plan. Now you just got to follow it. It's like a manual. You just got to follow the manual. It's very easy in that sense, very detailed. And, it gets results. And you can see this on the website at alopeciaangel.com. There's a tab for success stories and you see before and after pictures.
Yeah.
And so my biggest pride comes from the skeptics. I love turning that mindset around. I also love uncovering the blind spots for people. I had one person here recently, she's done it all. And a lot of times people say, I've done it all. I've been to the rich, expensive hair treatment place in Norway or in Sweden or in Switzerland. And I've done this and I've done that. And they, list all the expensive stuff. Just within that evaluation form, I've picked out exactly what's going wrong. That's how key it is to get an expert to see what you can't see. It's almost like, this is why we have hairstylists. I can't do my own highlights. I can't see in the back of my head and put the foils on. This is why my hairstylist does that for me. He makes sure that I look good. He makes sure that all my highlights, all my foils are in perfectly, that nothing's too thick, nothing's too thin, and everything's, even. He can see what I can't see.
Right.
And this is the truth of the matter. And this is why I have professionals like nurses, like personal trainers and doctors and functional medicine doctors do my program, because they can't see because they're in it. They're in the thick of it.
Mm-hmm.
They can't see the light. They can't see what their blind spots. And I think that was the biggest part for me. It took me 4 years to really figure out my blind spots, to see. And I'm like, oh, this is it. It's holding me back. And on top of it, I was in denial, which many people are. We're in denial. And then once you have like the reality in your face, then you can't deny it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You really can't. I think the blind spots though keeps everybody stuck. And so I think that's a big portion of it. And the other thing is too, like a lot of people they don't believe that they can heal. They think like, this is it. Like they treat it almost like cancer. Like, this is it. This is my life sentence. And it doesn't have to be. It really doesn't. And so then you have that spiral effect of the suicides or the mental health issues, or, it just progresses. It doesn't get better.
Right.
If you leave alopecia alone, let's say you were diagnosed today and you don't do anything about it, it will only get worse. And I know this because I've seen this through my thousands of clients. Like, let's say you start with one spot, let's say it grows back in naturally. And then let's say a few years later, it becomes bigger. Let's say you do steroid injections and it grows back. But then by the second, third, fourth, fifth time, it's going to get to a point where your body just like revolts, it rebels. And almost like that dog that bites you back, your hair bites you back. And guess what? Now it's like 30 times worse than what it originally was. Instead of like a little thing, now it's all your hair. I've had clients lose all their hair in 24 hours, all their hair in 3 weeks. That's devastating. Talk about change.
Wow.
Sometimes it can be overnight. It really can. It doesn't have to be gradual. And so once you see that spot, so this is to anybody who has any type of hair loss, like once you see the bald spot, once you see the hair loss, like take action now, because then you're setting yourself up for success for the future. The keys you hold are now for preventing anything else. It's almost like, if you were to do anything, it comes into prevention for the future. So if you were to work out on a daily basis, you're preventing, let's say, a heart attack, or you're preventing, anything else that could come your way. So you have to prevent. You have to prevent it from getting worse at any point, even if you think you're in the clear, because many times you're not. It's still in you because you haven't gotten to the root cause. You haven't gotten to the blind spots. You don't know. I actually just had a call yesterday with a mom and her son, who's 20, is going back to school in 2 months. So he's home for right now. And he's at that point where he's had it multiple times throughout his childhood, and they've had many things help it throughout the years, but now it's gotten really worse. And so instead of waiting, they need to take action now so that he can prevent it for the rest of his life, because mom's not always going to be there. He needs to do these things. He needs to learn these things on his own, because it's about him, his self-confidence, his everything, because this affects you when you're looking for jobs, when you're, in a study group, let's say, or when you're dating.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. I'm learning so much today. I'm so appreciative for this conversation. At the end of the day, Johanna, like, what do you want your legacy to be? And also, what is next for you? So what do you want your legacy to be, one? And then what's next for Alopecia Angel?
Great questions. I would say the legacy is to heal and reverse alopecia across the world. I want to get the word out. I want people to believe that they can heal. And this is why I post inspiring stories online, before and after pictures, but then also I interview my clients and I try to extrapolate all this information so that they can see themselves. Maybe they don't identify with my situation with my alopecia areata, but maybe they identify with the person who had alopecia universalis, or the person who had scarring alopecia, or the person who had female pattern baldness. All this can be helped. And a lot of it's a mindset change. So hopefully, the more you heal people, the more you help people, the word spreads. I actually have doctors who recommend my program to their clients, and their dermatologists are like, we can't help you, but she can. And so they recommend them to me. So I'd like to see more of that. And that's what I'm trying to get to. I think that's what's next as well. Trying to get this really big and broadcasted all over the world, all over the US, all over everywhere, because it's not necessarily fair just to keep this a secret. Everyone should have the opportunity to heal if they want to heal.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Oh, this has been such a great conversation. And I know that there are so many people who are going to benefit from this, because I'm sure anybody listening to this may know somebody that has alopecia who may have lost hope. And hopefully they will, point them in the direction of your program. And like I said, I know some people with alopecia, so I'm definitely going to be spreading the word and pointing them in the direction of Johanna for sure. Before you go, I have to ask you the Friends in Beauty rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Just, spit out whatever comes to your mind first. First one, what are the top 3 keys to your success so far?
I keep learning. I don't rest on my laurels. And I think that's something that doctors kind of do. They don't they don't go back for more education. They just kind of like, okay, I'm done with my medical degree, work 9 to 5,
Right.
day to day. And I think, knowledge is changing, education is changing, new technology developments are changing. And so you have to be and stay on top of it. And you also have to be open-minded. And so I'm curious. So I think that's one of my keys to success is my curiosity for things, to do things better, right? That I always want to improve. I always want to excel. I have a high standard for excellence, not just within the organization, but for myself. I have a high level of excellence. And so I require that from my service providers, from my doctors, from everybody else. And I also see doctors as somebody part of my team, not somebody who's going to dictate my life, but somebody as my team. You're here to support me. I'm paying you to support me, just like my clients pay me to support them, right? You're part of the team. So I've switched the idea of, you're the end all be all, because you're not. That's so the curiosity, a thirst for learning, and then also a thirst for making a change. I think those are my keys to success: curiosity, learning, and change. Because keeping the information to myself, like I could have easily just gone off on my merry way, kept my hair and, did my life, but I didn't want to. I was like, people need to know. They can't be going through what I'm going through. And then if you start reading articles and people, what they say, and like, let's say TV interviews and whatnot, they've been dealing with this for years, decades. And I was just like, I'm lucky to only have been dealing with this for 3.5 years, 4 years. But you can shorten all that. You can shorten it real quick for everybody. And so, there is no quick fix, but at the same time, this is the quickest fix, naturally, holistically, long-term results.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, curiosity, learning, always learning, and making that change available to everybody.
Awesome. How do you measure your success?
By the amount of people who I touch, by, where people find me. Maybe they find me through my podcast. Maybe it's recommended through a doctor. It's also the people you touch. I went to a health conference last year and I spoke to a lot of people, and there was actually a professional speaking about hair growth, hair loss, and he was promoting hair transplants. And so I like to see and understand their perspective, their point of view, where they're coming from. But literally I went in, it was a small little conference in this sense. It was like a side conference. Anyways, it was probably no more than 40 people in the room. And I was there a little bit early. I was there taking my seat. Everybody came up to me and told me what beautiful hair I had. I was like, oh, thanks. Did you know I had hair loss? And it's just like, I go into my story because it's just like, they're here trying to see about hair loss and hair transplant, but yet they see me, they're giving me a compliment. And I'm just like, yeah, I had it. This is how you can reverse it. And I think it's so important to get that message out. More and more do I see children with alopecia. And I was raised in California, in Southern California. And so I'm here right now visiting family. Literally, I've already seen maybe 3 people with alopecia already.
Wow.
And that's just with like going around, like going to the supermarket, like nothing, just doing day-to-day life, right? And you see people with alopecia, and I saw one going to the doctors. I saw another one leaving the hair salon, and I saw one somewhere else. And it's just like, I always want to approach them and say, hey, there's another way. There's always another way. It's that third door. And maybe no one's saying outwardly, this option is here for you, but we have to make our own opportunities as well. We have to advocate for ourselves. And I think that's a big, big takeaway. We have to advocate for ourselves. If something doesn't feel right or sound right, then don't do it. Don't feel pressured by anyone to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the best advice you've ever received, or a piece of advice that's just always stuck with you?
Probably the best advice would be to get mentors, to get coaches, to get coaching. It's only after alopecia where I started investing in coaching for myself, whether it's in business, whether it's personally, whether it's actually during alopecia too. I also invested in different programs just to learn more, or just to heal, or just to be curious, or just to seek out. When someone tells me about something 3 times, maybe it's from 3 different people, then I feel like it's the universe telling me I need to look into this. I need to go do that program. I need to read that book. I need to just investigate a little bit more. And so when I hear something, whether it's on the radio or anywhere else, just 3 times, then I'm like, okay, let's look into it. Let's make it a priority, because the universe talks to us. It doesn't matter about what religion you subscribe to, or if it's any religion, but the universe is energy. And when you're putting out a certain type of energy, if you're, let's say, looking at fertility, looking at alopecia, or looking at ways to answer this problem that you may have, any problem, the universe is talking to you. It really, at least that's what I believe. The universe is talking to you. And so there's like nuggets of wisdom, but we have to be open, not distracted, to be able to listen to them, to be able to catch them. And so when that happens, then I take it and I run. Now I'm like, really, I have like antennas, really like honing in, and I'm just like, okay, take it and run. If it's a book, if it's, a program, if it's anything else, like, I believe investing in yourself is probably the best thing ever. And I think this is where we all lack. We might invest in our homes, in our cars, in our children, in, how we dress, in our education, like normal, traditional education, high school, university, this type of thing. But there's outside education that could be so, so important, so perfect for our self-development, and I think that's the key. That's been so key for me. I've been open-minded. I've been always trying to learn more, always trying to better myself.
Yeah. Okay. What advice would you give to someone who has just been diagnosed with alopecia?
I'd say go to my podcast, go to my website. There's tons of free downloads on the podcast itself. There's tons of information, just so you have a better perspective of what this looks like and what the possibilities are for you. And then also hear inspiring stories. Unfortunately, when you're at any diagnosis, you see the negative. Any diagnosis, whether even if it's something so simple as acid reflux, you see all the negative to it. And so you want to stay away from the negative, focusing in on the positive and on being results oriented, because this is where your success will lead.
Yeah. What's a resource that has helped you in your business that you can share with the friends and beauty community?
A resource for business? I think that getting more mentors and coaches, looking for masterminds, looking for, entrepreneurs who think alike, who are on the same trail, who are at the same level, who want to grow. And it doesn't have to be something big, and it doesn't have to be something paid. I have lots of different mentors. I venture into different things. I recently started working with a human design professional.
Okay.
Do you know anything about human design?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Wow. This lady, Alicia Baker, for anyone who wants it, Alicia Baker is phenomenal. I'm actually about to interview her for my podcast, because the human design aspect has enlightened me on so many levels, not just personally, but professionally as well, but then also with clients. And human design is something that's relatively new. It's maybe, came about in the 80s. And I mean, Alicia knows her craft. She really does. And so let's say that's another thing, being curious and open to these things, investing, getting somebody to give you results, to give you more insight. This is what life is all about: growing, learning, evolving, and helping others. Because the more I can learn and grow, the more I can share with others, just like you are.
Yeah.
This is all key.
Absolutely. That's exciting. Okay. So the last one, I just want you to fill in the blank and just say, my name is blank, and the key to longevity and success is whatever you think it is.
My name is Johanna, and the key to success and longevity is always upgrading your health.
Ooh, yes, I like that. Always upgrading your health. Before you go, please share your social media information, your website, whatever people need to do to connect with you, Alopecia Angel, your program, just share it all.
AlopeciaAngel.com. You can see where I'm at on YouTube at Alopecia Angel, Facebook, Instagram at Alopecia Angel. Also my podcast, Alopecia Angel, Awaken to Hair Growth. It's also in Spanish. For those of you who speak Spanish, it's also in Spanish as well. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Johanna, you have no idea. Like this, I feel like this is one of the most informative interviews I've ever done. Like I'm really excited for everything that I just learned. Because like you said, that's what it's really all about. Like now that I have this information, if I ever come into contact with somebody who is like just feeling down and like hopeless about alopecia, and like I could always just share this resource with them. So I'm really excited and really grateful to have met you, and so grateful for you just sharing so openly with us. Like this was fantastic.
I'm happy to be here and, just to be that connection, because I went through it and I want others to know that they can come out on the other side as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for listening to the Friends in Beauty podcast. Don't forget, sharing is caring. Share this episode with at least one friend in beauty, and subscribe, rate, and review on Apple Podcasts so that other friends in beauty can find this show. Plus, we'd love to hear your feedback. Connect with us on all social media platforms at Friends in Beauty, #Friends in Beauty to join the conversation, and join our Friends in Beauty Facebook community to stay connected. Talk to you soon.